Alrighty, here we are again. So I've gone in, I added buttons, I added a bit of margin below each one of these so that they're not stacked up on each other. And let's get to it. Let's make this bigger. Okay, so let's move to desktop. So we'll just start from the top and move down. The H1 is going to become 60. There it is. The H2 in the feature is 32. This H2 is also 32. It's just bold. So we can just do that little change. That'll be easy. It's 20 here. Right. So H1, H2. Let's do that first. So what we're going to do is we're going to go find a media query. And I'm going to go to W3 Schools Media Query. It's going to give you a not mobile first media query. This one, this example, max width. What this is saying is it's saying if it is no bigger than 600 pixels, we want like basically the opposite of this. So I'm going to grab it and I'm going to change it to min width. So you always want your media queries at the bottom of your page of your CSS file. We'll just keep this because it'll be a good way to test if it's working. So instead of max width, I want to say min width. And I'm going to, my first one that I usually have is 768, which is portrait mode on an iPad mini. So I kind of feel like that's usually a pretty good breakpoint for adding styles. So let's first just make sure that this is working. So I'm going to go back to my page and then I'm just going to change to responsive. I'm going to change it to 760 and then I'm just going to stretch it out and make sure, yep, when it gets to 768, sure enough, the background turns blue. So let's go back to there. Let's get rid of that. We don't need that. So the thing with media queries is basically you're putting styles within curly brackets. So you always want to make sure that you don't lose this last curly bracket. It's going to happen to you, I swear. And a lot of times, let's say if you have like a really big website and you want to have like maybe I'll do one for 1440. So 1440 and above. So a minimum width of 1440 or over. We're going to do some different stuff. I'm not sure yet what it is, but we'll do that. Okay, so first we want to change our H1 and H2, right? So I'm going to say H1 becomes a font size of 60 pixels. A font size. H2 becomes a font size of 32 pixels. And then if it's in the header and it's an H2, then we want the font weight to be bold. Otherwise, it's normal. I think that this should be fine. So what's happening is things are going to inherit. Do I have anything else? So this line height on here, it's going to inherit from mobile. Actually, we'll definitely have to change it for the H1, probably the H2 as well. So if I don't override this, it's going to just use what it has. So I'm going to make organize things a little better. So I'm going to do a line height of 68, and then this one I'll do a line height of 42. Okay, so let's go to 768. Did that get larger? I didn't see. Did I refresh? Okay, so it's getting bigger. That's great. Line height's a little tight, actually. I don't know if I like it. This might actually be because of the kind of auto margin stuff that goes on H1. Let's see. So if I look down here, so yeah, see how this is, so it says style.css line 7. It has these styles. These are the mobile styles we set up. And then here on line 45, here's our media query. So it's basically overriding these and replacing them with this. That's kind of how the media query works. So we've got this like margin stuff in the H1. I'm not a huge fan. I'm just going to get rid of it. Yeah, I'll just say margin bottom 0, and then I'll feel like I have a little more control over stuff. Okay, so right, and then let's look at it. So now let's go to this block. So we have 2 columns. I'm going to show you a trick, and I'm going to actually add flex to the mobile first. So feature section. So feature is where the flex is, and it has 2 children. It has the image div, and then it has the content div. So it's gonna see these as 2 different columns. So that's perfect. So let's call feature. We're going to say, so I'll make a new one down here and say feature display flex, and then I'm going to change the flex direction. So if I looked at it now on mobile or anything, it's going to try to flex it into 2 columns, right? We actually don't want it to do right and left column, so we can give it a flex direction of column, because the default is row. Do that, and we hit refresh. Now in mobile, or well, in everything right now, we have a single column, 1 column with 2 cells. Now all we have to do, I'll just grab this whole thing to be fast. Feature, I'm going to go down to the media query. I'm going to add feature here. Don't need this because it's already being called above, right? We're only replacing what is different. Now I can change this to flex direction row, and then it will go from being a single column to 2 columns. And now that we've got desktop, we want to add a little bit of padding to the right side. We've got padding actually on the whole thing because the image, so both of these things need padding all around. I'm going to make them, so on feature, I'm going to say, I'll use margin since we're not using any background images. So margin, let's look at it. Margin, I'll just say top and bottom is 0 right now, and left and right. Oh, let's do our percentage trick. So top and bottom is 0, and then left and right is auto. And then I'll make the width of this be 80%. And then I'll do the same thing for the other section. I'll make the width 80%. So the margin's going to make it center. And the next section down is called news thumbs. So in my thing here, see how I have kind of the same margins around this? I'm going to do that for news thumbs. Okay, so I'm going to say also in desktop only, news thumbs. Margin. I think I can actually use this whole thing. Let's do it. News thumbs. Because we're going to kind of do the same thing with this flex direction. So let's copy this. Let's look at it and see how it's looking. Okay, so I'll fix the padding in between. But these guys just need flex. So let's go up here, feature. Let's do it here. News thumbs. So I'm going to also call flex direction on news thumbs, but also make it a column. Sorry, yeah, you know what I'm saying. Okay, so in desktop now, they're trying to flex. We've got to worry about the size of it, but if we shrink them down, then they become single column. Okay, so now let's fix this flex issue. So this one and also all of these, they need to know that they can only be a flex of 1. So these should be equal sizes, and these three should be equal sizes. So we need to call the children. So an index. So these children are all articles. So I can say all the News Thumb articles. I can do it in mobile, yeah. News Thumb. And then this is an HTML tag, so we don't need the dot. Articles. Did I spell that right? Article. It's an article, not an articles. We want all of these to be a flex of 1. And then the other one, I think, is div, right? So in feature, we have a div and a div. So we can actually add that here. So let's say feature space div and then comma. So we're saying all the divs inside of feature and also all the articles inside of News Thumb, give them a flex of 1. So they're all going to be equal to each other. And it's going to know that this flex of 1 equals 1/3 if there's 3 columns, and it's going to know that it equals 1/2 if there's 2. So let's see if that worked out. Refresh. Okay, looking good. All right, so this H2 has a margin on top. I want to get rid of that. I think all H2s, I'm going to get rid of the margin. So in mobile, margin just 0. Margin 0. Okay. I'll have to add some padding. But now let's get this content away from the image and get these images away from each other. So each div. So I only want the content div in this case, because see how nicely it's lining up with this left-hand side. I only want the content div to have a bit of padding on the inside. So I think it's just called, okay, feature content. Let's put it down here. I'm just trying to keep things mostly organized. Feature content. Padding left 40 pixels. Remember there's 72 pixels per inch, so in 100% view, that's like roughly a little bigger than a 1/2 inch. Okay. Oh, I just realized one more thing we didn't do is hide this paragraph on mobile. I don't like how much content there is. I'm gonna have to probably change my, well, I haven't put the font in, so I'm not going to worry about it till I get the final font in. Okay, so this one's a bit trickier. So let's look at these columns. They're all in articles. So first I'm going to say, and I want it to be here because I want the articles to be 100% wide in desktop. So in 100% wide in mobile. So here I am in desktop. I'm going to say article, give each article a margin on the right-hand side of 20 pixels. So that spaces them out a bit, but I don't want the margin on the last one. So what I can do is I can use this this handy dandy CSS. It's called a pseudo class. I can say last. I'm gonna have to look this up because I always forget. W3 schools search last child. Oh, I don't want ads. Enhanced by Google. Last child. Okay. I just couldn't even handle the pop-up. Okay, so it looks like it's colon last child. Okay, let's try that. Colon last child. And then I can say margin right 0. And that should take out that. So let's see if it takes it out. Yep. that takes out the margin. I want a little bit more in there. Margin right. Let's try 30. Okay, cool. So many other things, like this whole section, what's this called? Feature, and then news thumbs. I want to have a margin on the top of that in desktop only. So I'm going to add that. Margin top. I'm going to make it nice and big, 60 pixels. Okay. I'm going to put the final fonts in before I worry about the line height, or, the figuring out this bit. Maybe I end up just giving the cat more than 50%. But one thing to think about is that your text is going to flow. So I had that actually on a quite small screen. So 1440, yeah, 1440 still looks kind of funky. So I'll probably end up changing line height and trying to smush things up a bit more. So let's hide this paragraph on mobile. So here we are on mobile. Estimates vary. Okay, article tidbit. So let's take that class. And then just to make sure, this is a huge news website. So I want to make sure that only the feature article tidbit, feature article tidbit is not showing. So I'm going to say display none. And this is in the mobile part. So now when I hit refresh, it disappears. So we get nice short things if you're on a phone. And then when I'm on desktop, I want it to come back. So it's still hiding now. So because mobile is first, I need to kind of change the display when we get to desktop. So I'm going to copy that, bring it to mobile, or to desktop, and I'm going to say display block. I'm also going to fix the indentation. It's so important to have clean indentation when you're in media queries because you need to be able to see that last curly bracket. So make sure you've got stuff all indented. Okay, so now if we refresh, then that paragraph comes back, but it disappears on mobile. So last thing I was going to do is something with really big screens. So let's say if I'm on like a 2600 pixel screen, it's kind of hard to imagine, but maybe this is like just too much information in my face. Oh, that's weird. Why is that? Oh, science. Okay, this has a different width than the rest. I'd probably have that be the same as everything else. So what did I have up here? Header width 90. I'd probably change the width as well when it gets to desktop. So I'll just put it here. Don't need that margin auto because we're already using it above. And then we're using 80% here, so I'll change that to 80%. And that should stick with the rest of the content. Okay, so let's just say, let's make this media query for really big stuff. Maybe anything bigger than like 2400. I want everything to be a width of 80%. So this one, and then also header. Change it so that the width is, 60%. So now it'll make the content float a little better in the page. You'll have a lot more white space, but the content won't be so overwhelming and like in your face. Okay, I think that is all I'm going to cover. There's certainly lots of other things I could do, but we're at 20 minutes again. Yeah, I hope that helps kind of explain how this mobile stuff works. You really want to think about just not writing, like the stuff that is here should only be overriding what it needs to override. You don't need to like copy and paste all of it. I'm just checking feature, news thumb. Yeah, so yeah, I really am just like only kind of adding styles as I need them for desktop. And the other thing I wanted to talk about is just this idea of how boxes are organized, like how, let me see, like cool, I have these cool annotation tools. Let's try them out. So how in this case I see that, so here's my header. I'll just stick a box for the header. Ooh, this is a weird tool. And then I see here that I've got a kind of features section, and the features section has 2 columns in it. 1, 2, right? So I want to think about that even as I'm going to work on my mobile, because I know I'm going to want to have a box with 2 boxes in it. Same thing here. This is like my section for like news thumbnails, and each one of these has 3 columns in it. 1, 2, 3. So that's kind of how I'm setting up my boxes. And these are all, it's either a div or a section or an article. Remember, all those things are all the same. They're just a div, a divider box. They're just called different things so that the code is easier to read. Same thing with header, same thing with footer. They're just dividers. They just have prettier names. That's all. But they're just used for organizing content so that you can apply grids and apply margin and padding and all that good stuff. Okay, I am off. Hopefully I will see most of you later this evening if you have power. And if not, then I don't know. I hope you're warm and have fires. Okay, thanks.